So I've been playing a lot of Icarus lately, and I've been pretty impressed with the game overall. I've got about 40 hours in the game so far, and I think I barely just kind of scratched the surface. Now, this is definitely a game that can overwhelm you, so I wanted to put together this list of tips to hopefully help out some new players. And just as a disclaimer, I have not experienced everything that this game has to offer yet. Like I said, I've got about 40 hours in the game, and I feel like I barely scratched the surface. But these are just tips that me and my buddy have learned as we've been playing, and I just hope it helps out some new players that maybe picked up the game recently on that big sale that happened. Also, this is for the open world. I know there's a few different ways you can play Icarus. We're kind of treating this like a traditional kind of survival game in a way. All these tips are from the perspective of an open world player. And of course, if these tips do end up helping you out, definitely drop a like down below to help support the channel. And if there's any tips that I did not cover in this video that you think are useful, definitely drop them in the comments so people watching in the future can take a look at those as well. Also, I want to give a shout out to nodecraft.com. They set me up with this dedicated server that's been running great for Icarus. So if you guys are interested in setting up any survival game servers for you and your friends, definitely check out Nodecraft in the description down below. Also, if anyone is interested in a community server for Icarus, please let me know in the comments or join our Discord community and let me know over there, and I'll look into getting that set up for us. All right, so without further ado, let's hop into the tips. All right, so first things first is progression can kind of seem a little bit intimidating, especially when you take a look at the tech tree in the game. So here are some tips to hopefully help you out with that. Now, the first thing you need to know about the tech tree, because again, it can look a little overwhelming. You might be thinking, oh my God, like what do I unlock first? Is that eventually you will be able to unlock everything in the tech tree. So you max out at level 60, but even after level 60, you'll still kind of level up and get tech tree points. So you will eventually be able to unlock everything in the tech tree. So you don't really need to plan accordingly, but you can still kind of divvy up things if you want to. So for example, if you're playing with friends like I am, one of my buddies, he has focused more on kind of crafting ammo for us. So you can see I've just unlocked some of the shotgun ammo here, but he has a lot more of this unlocked. So he's mostly the one that's kind of crafting ammo for us. So you can kind of split up responsibilities if you want to in the tech tree. But again, you will eventually unlock everything anyway. And you cannot respec anything in the tech tree as well. So when you choose something, just make sure it's really something you do want to choose at that time, because you cannot respec it. One thing I will recommend in tier 1 for a brand new player, don't even bother unlocking the thatch building base set. It just burns too easily. You can just go straight to wood. It's easy enough to get wood. Then after wood, you can move to stone. So I would just unlock the wood building base set instead of the thatch one. Don't waste a point on this one. Now, if you're playing with friends, it really is beneficial to kind of split up your responsibilities in the talent tree here. Now, you can respec any of these things in the talent tree, but for example, my buddy has focused more on cooking and farming as well as the ammo creation, so he has mostly unlocked this cooking and farming tree. Now, I didn't want to actually double up on that because he's mostly doing that stuff for us anyway. I just, I kind of got a little bit of overlap here because obviously the food decay thing is really useful. But under hunting, I was like, all right, I want to get the Arctic armor set for us. So I'm going to focus on unlocking some of this hunting tree. So you can kind of split up things a little bit more. It makes a little bit more sense with the talents since there is a limited number of talent points that you can get. But that's what I would recommend for the talent tree here, is kind of splitting that up if you are playing with friends. Now, regardless of whether you're playing with friends or not, I do think the resources tree here in the talent tree is really useful for new players. You can get a chance to instantly chop up a tree, chance to mine a deposit in one hit. You can also chopped wood is automatically added to your inventory. You can also increase like your inventory weight capacity a few times and your encumbrance penalty. So I think this is just really useful overall. You're going to be kind of getting a lot of benefit out of this. So I'd focus a bit more on the resources tree if you're a fresh player. And then as you kind of progress through the tech tree and you start to do more and more things, you can kind of put more points into the other categories. And just want to call out 2 other nodes in the talent tree that I think are useful. So if you can unlock them, kind of towards your early game, I think they could be helpful. The animal health bars one is under the hunting tree is really great. It allows you to basically kind of see animals like without kind of seeing them, if that makes sense. So if it's nighttime, you'll be able to kind of see an animal is near you because its health bar will kind of pop up near you. So this has been really useful. It's even in the solo tree over here. It's on the right side, but then you can also unlock it in the regular talents tree. And then another talent that is useful, I don't currently have it unlocked because I recently respec'd, but this is just great for kind of traveling efficiently across the map, is this plyometrics node here. It just reduces your jumping stamina cost, but you will kind of find yourself, at least we did, jumping a decent amount as we're kind of exploring the map. You're jumping up on rocks and climbing things, and you're on your mount, things like that. So this one ended up being pretty useful for us as we've been traveling. I'll probably end up putting some more points into it once I unlock a few more points, but I just wanted to work on some other things first, so I respect. Now, something else that can really help boost your XP in the early game is to just always be crafting. So you can turn wood into sap, leather into rope. I'm going to turn wheat here into flour. You can kind of have something always kind of crafting in the background. So when you go do other things for XP, you're kind of doubling up on your XP. So for example, right here, I've got a bunch of wheat I'm about to harvest, but before I actually go and harvest it, I'm going to use this food item here, the kiwi fruit jam, which gives me plus 20% experience gained. You don't actually have to use this, but this obviously is going to help me get a little bit extra experience as I go and harvest these things. I also have a sickle that I'm using here, an iron sickle. I highly recommend making a sickle as early as possible. You can make one in the tech tree pretty early. It is the bone sickle right here. You can see this gives you plus 100% yield from reaping plants. So just going to give you a lot more, whether it's at your farm or out in the wild, you'll just get a lot more resources. So I highly recommend using a sickle in order to gather up resources. And I'll just show you an example of that right here. So if I actually go and harvest this without a sickle, you'll see I got 13 right there. Let's harvest this one without a sickle. This gave us plus 30. Plus 25. Now, if I actually go and take a sickle and use it, you can see we got plus 56 right there, plus 33, plus 36. So you're just getting kind of higher numbers in general when using the sickle. So I just find it a lot more useful to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and gather all this wheat, and I'll show you exactly what I mean about kind of always crafting so you get some bonus XP. All right, so you can see I've got a bunch of wheat right here, and I'm going to turn this into flour. Now, you can use the mortar and pestle, which is probably going to be like your best friend for this sort of stuff and creating like epoxy. You can also use a windmill as well. And then you can also use a material extractor, I believe it's called, or material processor over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put in all this wheat. I'm actually going to take out some of this ore here just so I have some extra space for the wheat. And then I'm just going to go ahead and queue up a bunch of flour here. So this is going to create, it's going to use 1,000 wheat to create 100 flour. So I can do like another 70 after this and queue that up. And then you'll see in the top left, I'm just gaining XP while that's crafting. So kind of use that as like inspiration to like always be crafting things. Go and get some wood to create some sap. Go and turn like leather into rope. Turn wheat into flour, and just kind of always have something crafting in the background. So now if I went out hunting, or if I went out doing anything, a mission, for example, I will kind of get like this like passive XP while that's crafting. So it's very important to like kind of always be crafting, and you'll find yourself leveling up a lot more frequently. I also like to try to have a simple quest kind of always going. So you can see in the left there, I've got a simple one to just hunt large deer. So I can't actually show you because I'd have to abandon it, but there's an option for a simple quest right here for your contact device at your base. I'd recommend kind of always kind of having one going, because especially these hunting ones, if I'm like out somewhere and I'm, mining, or, just like trying to kill certain things, or whatever it might be, I'm out exploring. If I see large deer, I'm going to go out of my way to just kill those. And then eventually I will get this simple quest done, I'll get a little bit of Ren, I'll get some XP, and it's just always good to kind of have it up. There's really no harm in always having it up, so I figured why not always have a simple quest active. Another good tip is to destroy your old equipment so you can get materials back. So for example, this longbow is something I'm not planning on using, at least right now, and I can always craft another one if I need to. So I'm going to just go ahead and destroy this, and you can see I'm going to receive 12 wood, 16 leather, and 2 bone. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So if there's any equipment you just don't plan on using anymore, you can right click on it and click destroy, and you'll get some materials back. Another tip is when you're eating food and you right click, you'll notice there's a consume stack option. So what this is actually going to do, it's not actually going to use its entire stack of food. It's just going to use the amount that you need in order to actually fill up your food bar. So I'm at 57% right now. I'm going to click on consume stack. We're now at 100, and it only used a little bit of this cooked meat. Also, you can see I just leveled up because I'm actually crafting some rope over on the textiles bench. So I wasn't even doing anything right there, and I just leveled up. I have more blueprint points, talent points now, and you can see I'm still getting XP up on the top left. So that's why it's important to always kind of be crafting in the background. Also, speaking of food, you're always going to want to kind of tailor your food to like what you're trying to do, tailor it to the occasion. So for example, like honey mead here is really great for stamina. You can see it increases maximum stamina, plus 100% stamina regeneration. You got your kiwi fruit jam, which allows you more stamina and more experience gained, and it's also great for resisting cave sickness. Then you got your other foods in here, like for example, like the seed bread or the savory roll. Savory roll increases your health, stamina, and just good kind of overall a really great food to have. So just make sure you're kind of pairing them up in a good way. You're not using all stamina boosting food unless you really just need that. I always like to have a kind of a mix of like good stamina and also good health. But if you really just need to buff up your health or buff up your stamina for something that you're doing, just eat 3 big stamina or big health foods. And speaking of that as well, when you go to your inventory, you can see 2 out of 3 food buffs active. And you can see these are the 2 different foods I have. I got the kiwi fruit jam as well as the cooked meat. Now, if let's say I had this filled up, right? Let's say I had a third one here and I didn't want this cooked meat anymore. I wanted to actually replace it with a better food that I have. Rather than actually waiting for the timer to end, you can see in the bottom left it says 12 minutes left for the cooked meat status effect to go away. I can just head to my inventory and I can just right click it and it will actually just remove that food buff for me so I can eat the food that I actually wanted to have. Now, talking about caves, one good tip is that when you enter a cave, you're obviously going to start to get that cave sickness debuff, but you're going to also want to try to take out all the worms first. I always just like to do like a run through the cave, see all the worms that pop up, take them out, and then that way I don't need to worry about them when I'm actually going and mining things in this cave. Obviously, there's not anything to mine in this one because we already cleared it out other than a little bit right there. But that is what I recommend is when you go into a cave, clear out all the worms first, and then you can worry about mining things. Because the worms will actually shoot out and attack, and it can actually, you know, in the early game, be a real problem. Stacking that on cave sickness plus the attack that they give can definitely, you know, not be fun. Also, speaking of cave sickness, you can just avoid it. You know, I have it right now, but you can just avoid it by just stepping out of the cave every few minutes. You can see it just goes away as soon as I step out. So if you want to just kind of nurse it that way, you know, you go mine a few things, you just step out every few minutes, then it'll kind of reset the cave sickness for you. Another good tip is that if you're caught out in a storm and you're too far from home, you can actually just find any stone and just dig a little kind of cubby into it, and it counts as shelter. You can see my storm exposure bar will now go down. You can just kind of wait out the storm here. So it's a good way to kind of get away from the storm if you can't find a cave or you're too far from home. Also, another handy tip is that if your character is over encumbered, just like how mine is right here, you can see I've got a lot of different ore on me. It actually doesn't seem to apply when you're on your mount. So even though I'm over encumbered, I can still run at full speed on my mount. It seems like everything is fine. It doesn't really seem like it takes it into consideration. But if your mount is over encumbered, it will slow down your mount. So you can kind of over encumber yourself as long as your mount's kind of nearby and just ride it without any consequences. Another handy tip is that if you are looting something, so I'm going to just go in this chest right here, there is a take all button, but there's a quicker way to actually just take all. You can just hit Q on your keyboard and it will pull over everything into your inventory. I'm not really sure why there's no indicator for that where it says that, but that seems to be, I guess, a little hidden way in order to actually take everything from an inventory. So whether you're, harvesting like an animal, something like that, or you're just getting stuff from a chest, you can just hit Q and it will bring everything over in your inventory. It's a lot quicker. Also, this is going to be a new player's best friend and probably like an expert player's best friend as well. If you hit J on your keyboard, you can head over to the items section here and you can just search for any item in the game. It will show you exactly how to craft it, what it's used in. For example, I looked up honey here. So I was looking to see, okay, how do I make honey? I need honeycomb and I can use it. I can make the honey with the honeycomb in a material processor, mortar and pestle, any of these things. And then, yeah, these are the different uses for it. You're like, oh, I can make honey mead, I can make sugar cubes, things like that. And then if you want to exactly see how to make something, so let's say jarred honey, you can just click on it. It will bring you to the jarred honey section. You can see you need a glass jar and honey, and you use the kitchen bench or the marble kitchen bench to make it, and that's how you can make it. You can also go in your inventory as well, or in a chest. You can right click and click open in field guide, and we'll open that item in on that specific page, and you can see all the details that I just talked about. So honestly, this has been like such a huge lifesaver for me, just as someone that like always forgets exactly which crafting station do I use to make something. This has been so helpful, so I highly recommend using this. Also, just some other tips in the settings here. If you go to settings and you go to gameplay and you scroll down, you'll see that there is something called multiplayer ghost building. This was off by default for me, so I turned it on. So if you're playing with friends, I think this is really useful. Essentially, you'll be able to just see your friends placing things before they actually place them, so you guys can coordinate a little bit better. Also, on the bottom of the gameplay tab here, you can also change your crosshair color and your crosshair style, so feel free to play around with those if you would like to. There's some other useful things in here as well. Like, for example, I switched from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Don't hate me, but it's just easier for me to understand. I also chose skip startup movie, so just some useful little settings that you can turn on if you would like to. And there you have it, folks. There are a bunch of tips there that will hopefully help you out if you're a new player. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, if those tips did help out, be sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. And if there's anything I missed, which I'm sure there's a bunch I missed, definitely drop some more tips in the comments down below to help out anyone else watching the video in the future. Also, feel free to join our Discord community as well, and let me know, do you guys want a community server for Icarus? Let me know in the comments or in the Discord server, and I can work on getting that set up. We're going to be setting up a lot more dedicated servers for other survival games as well, so stay tuned for that. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you later. See you, folks.